Welcome to our latest reading from the archives. This session is called No Place Like Home and features letters and reminiscences from documents including letters home from American servicemen during the Second World War, letters between a soon-to-be married couple setting up their first home, and a journal entry longing for a permanent home. We'll hear a number of recordings from our volunteers and we thank them all for their contributions. This letter is from the collection of the United States Army Air Force 2nd Air Division Archive. Rudolph Howell, better known as Buster and later Rudy, served with the 389th Bomb Group, based at Hethel, Norfolk, from 1943 to 1945. This is his letter to his mother.
Tuesday, 10th of April, 1945. Dear Mother, this has been a very beautiful day. Strangely enough, the sun had complete rule of the sky ever since before I got up this morning. It has turned a bit cooler though, and a good brisk wind has helped keep it cool. I hope the weather stays as nice tomorrow and that it warms up a bit. I have just returned from the show where I saw Betty Grable in Pin-Up Girl. It was the second time I had seen it, but that didn't faze me at all. I go every time the picture changes. It's about all there is to do around here for entertainment. Besides, I wanted to go see our new theatre. It just opened last night and I didn't go. I think it is supposed to be one of the nicest ones around here anyway. Of course, it's nothing like the Ritz, but it's pretty nice. A vast improvement over what we have been using as a theatre. Music for Millions is playing sometime this week, so I guess I'll go back and see it. I got 2 letters today, one from Myrtis and one from Daddy. I was very glad to get them both. Letters mean a great deal over here, and so far they have been very slow about coming. I hope you keep them on the way. I am really proud of the way you all have adopted Myrtis. From all she says, and from all you say, everything must be working fine. Of course, Virginia is probably kicking up her heels at having a foreigner invade her little empire on Gaunto Road. But I gave Myrtis some rope before I left and told her to hang Virginia by her toes if she spoke out of turn, so perhaps she's kept quiet. Full apologies to Her Highness. I was only kidding. Daddy made me feel really good about it in his letter. He also told me about Mr. Rivera being there, and you fixing such a nice supper for him. So did Myrtis. It was very nice of you. Everything must have been excellent from the way Myrtis described it. Daddy says he has guessed who my CO is. Who does he think? The person I'm speaking of is not actually the CO, but is a big wheel in the outfit. Let me know what your guess is. I'd like to know. Sunday morning, I went to church again. It wasn't quite as crowded as it was Easter Sunday, of course, but it was full, and there are only a few empty seats. I was about 15 minutes late, so I missed out on most of the music, but I got the sermon. It was very good. I think our chaplain is one of the best preachers I have ever heard. He can really put it over. He's no evangelist. He's just a plain straight talker who is very sincere and who can hold my attention every minute. He's really good. Well, I could have gone on with my rambling for a while, I guess, but Parsons and Dilliot just came in and the inevitable ball session is opening with unprecedented fury. So I'll have to close and tell them what I think about the price of sugar in Denmark. Incidentally, in case you couldn't find any peanut for my request the other day, don't forget I would still like to have some. Good night now. Love, Buster.
The letters of Lance Corporal Bert Cossey of the Northumberland Fusiliers were written in 1918 during his period as a prisoner of war in Friedrichsfeld by Basel, Germany. Bert was from Yaxham and had been posted as missing in April 1819. These letters were among the first that he was able to send from the prisoner of war camp. He writes, 14th of July 1918, Friedrichsfeld by Basel, Germany. My dear mother, another Sunday has come and I'm writing a letter and I'm sure you will be glad to have a little more to read. Well, I have not yet heard from you, but have not lost hope, as it is still rather early for the first mail. I guess that you will be glad to hear that I'm getting a parcel from the Red Cross every week, and occasionally one with grocery. The weekly one is of bread and biscuits, and the grocery consists of a packet of tea, £1/4 of cocoa, tin of milk, 2 biscuits, 1 tin of beef, 1 of mutton, 1 of cheese, and 1 of dripping. They come more than acceptable. Shall get these until one comes addressed straight to me with other things in it. Also cigs. What I'm getting now are what we call emergency parcels. The other ones are better still. So you see, I'm getting on very well, considering the circumstances. Expect them within a month. I do not want you to send me food, but I should like some cigs and tobacco, and if possible, some socks. I do not know if you can possibly inquire of someone who has to do with the Prisoners of War Red Cross Fund as to the best way to send them and the quantity that you may send, as I believe it is best to send through the Red Cross and only a certain quantity each time. I'm settling down to work now until the war is over. I believe I told you that I'm working at a mine. Well, I go now, and it's not bad, although hard work. But as I'm getting the parcels, I can rub along all right, and it passes the time. I get a little money every 10 days so that I can buy a few German cigs, but they are not half so good as Blighties. Today I went to the pictures. We go about once a fortnight. It's quite a pleasant change. They are German films, and I cannot understand the reading as I have not got hold of the lingo yet, but will do, as I'm working with some civvies. That is, if the war lasts long enough. Well, Mother, and how are you all at home? Sincerely hope that you and Father are quite well, also Francis, Ernie and Hilda. How do Stanley get on? Should love to see you all. I guess that you lot, all of importance, have my address, and give them news, as I cannot write them. Has Francis told Stella, please ask her to give her my very kindest regards and good wishes. Love you. I see very little of the outside world, but cheer up, better times are in store for all. With heaps of love to all and yourself, from your loving son, Bert. Kiss, kiss, kiss. 2nd of August 1918. My dear Mother, I'm very pleased to tell you that I've received 3 letters during these last 10 days. One from Hilda, one from Ernie, one from Stella. How glad I was to receive them. I mentioned about Ernie in my postcard last Sunday. Hope he likes himself. Was glad to read in Hilda's that Father was better. Sincerely hope that he is completely recovered and that the crops look promising to you. Have made inquiries at the Red Cross concerning parcels. That was the last thing to do, but you need not send me food, as I'm getting parcels from my regiment in England through the Red Cross system. I think you can guess by now what to send. Please tell Frances when she is writing to Stella that I was very pleased to receive her letter dated 18th of June 1918, and give her my very kindest regards, and that I hope some day to write her a postcard. Well, Mother, I was very glad to receive these letters, but what I cannot understand is I have not yet received one from you. I am anxiously looking forward to them, as I ought to receive quite a budget when they do come. I do hope that you are keeping well, and I'm sure you have had your hands full while Father has been ill, but hope that Hilda has helped you a good bit. She was asking Nurse when writing to me, I was glad to see. Sincerely hope that Stanley is doing well. Don't forget to send me his photo. Should so like to see him. I cannot quite understand about Hugh. Is he in the army now? Guess that all the particulars are in your first letters to me that I have not yet received. Is Archie still alive and well? By the way, I have not yet had a line from Yaxham. How do you come on with your correspondence? Guess that you will soon require a secretary, having all mine to do for me. I wish that I was able to do it myself, but must not grumble. seeing that I can receive all that are wrote to me. I think that you must have misunderstood me about letter writing. As Ernie said in his, as I was only able to write to you, I can write to who I wish, but as it is only 2 letters and 4 postcards per month, I have not many to spare to write to others if I want to write to you regularly. Well, I must close now. With fondest love to you all, from your loving son, Bert. Kiss, kiss, kiss. The letters of Hans Dietrich of Dresden to Mrs. Stallam of Norwich, a correspondence which began when Hans was a prisoner of war in Norwich. The connection between prisoners of war and local inhabitants appears to have been instigated by the Church, and the Norwich International Fellowship Committee arranged for prisoners to spend Christmas Day with Norwich residents. Here, Hans reflects on previous Christmases and the current political situation in Germany.
December the 22nd, 1948. Dear Mrs. Statham, at first, a Happy New Year and good wishes to you, all from my parents and myself. I don't think the coming year will bring great changes for me, in particular, and our German people in general. We are all still divided in 4 zones, still waiting for peace, better living conditions, and more to eat. And I am afraid we shall do the same in 365 days. How did you enjoy the Christmas holidays? Was Gerald on leave? As for me, it is the first Christmas since 1941 I am spending at home. The first 3 years, 1942 till 1944, I spent it with the army. 1943 alone on a little outpost, and 1945 to 1947 as a POW, prisoner of war, in America and Britain. I also remember the Christmas holidays in former years when I was a child, the Boxing Days in our nice house, lots of presents under the 10 feet high Christmas tree, which was decorated with dozens of burning candles. And today, no tree, no presents, no house. And we are happy that we are healthy and able to wait for better times. Ing is complaining that no mail is coming from Norwich. I hope you received my last letter I sent you after I received the parcel and Audrey's letter. Ing Dieck sent me some lovely snaps of her last holiday at the Baltic Sea. If and Audrey have copies of the photographs they have taken in Switzerland, which they don't need for relatives, friends, or the family album, I should be very glad if they could send me 1 or 2. I shall close for today, hoping to hear from you soon. Regards and good wishes to Grandma, Muriel, Audrey, and Gerald. Yours truly, Hans. P.S. Has Jimmy already a successor?
Our next document comes from Hilda Zigamala, who frequent visitors to our events will have heard of many times. Hilda wrote journals and included diary entries, cuttings, memorabilia and photographs, starting with her marriage in 1889 and recording her privileged family and social life. In this reflective entry, Hilda talks about her journals and the importance of them, and how she longed for a permanent home of her own.
January 28th to March 30th, 1899. 44 Egerton Gardens, London, SW. This begins the 7th volume of my book and the commencement of the 11th year of our married life. It does seem a time since I began the first volume with my wedding. What a child I was there too. On looking back, it hardly seems as if it was the same me at all. How glad I am I've kept my book up all these years, and what a happy possession to me they are. I always used to say, in chaff, I only kept them going for the sake of my great-grandchildren, little thinking I should ever have any. But now we really have a son of our own to alter our life and everything. Please God, there may be some great-grandchildren after all to look at these records and be amused at them, and so keep my memory green. Sometimes I feel awfully slack over working the book up, particularly so if I've got it into arrears. But I'm always so pleased I've never given in and dropped my scribbling and drawing. The only thing is, I should so like to have all my volumes together instead of stored and warehoused with all our other possessions as they are now. How much I long to have a real home of our own, and once more all my beloved treasures round me. As words can tell, I hate the packed-up, unsettled life we lead now, as I so love and glory in housekeeping and a home, in the true sense of the word. I live in hope, though, it won't go on much longer now. As soon as ever we can collect enough pennies to be really comfortable and able to do things really well, we shall start our own home. And I have great dreams of it being an ideal one, too. Just Jack, I, and Baby. But enough of this digression. And now to start Volume 7. Rougham Hall, Norfolk, March 30th to April 11th, 1899. We've had a very jolly 10 days down here, and I'm sure the change has done Jack no end of good. We have only been a family party, just Da, Mother, Dora, Joe Keppel, who is living here now, Tom, Jack and myself. But it's just what I enjoy, and I do so love the out-of-doors, country life, after the constraint of London. We simply live out of doors, although it's still rather cold. Seeing everything coming out and all the young ducks, chickens, goslings and lambs are an endless delight to me. We had great fun at the Eastwinch races on the 10th meeting. Really the whole of Norfolk, it was all so cheery and such fun. Bertie Keppel was there and scored a most popular win on Oedipus, although it was a delightful day and we enjoyed it all thoroughly. Now we are going back to town, Jack's holiday being over. I'm quite looking forward to seeing Baby, as it's over a fortnight since we saw him, and Shackelford writes he is looking so well and so rosy.
This letter is another from the United States Army Air Force 2nd Air Division Archive Collection, from the 491st Bomb Group based at Metfield in Suffolk and North Pickenham in Norfolk. John J. Van Acker, known as Jack, was a pilot in the 853rd Bomb Squadron, and this letter is to his parents, written in 1944.
MC 371/658, Sunday, December 3rd, 1944. Dear folks, the day after we arrived in England I got your letters. They must have beaten us over, but it was good to hear from the States after that long confinement. However, I now realise how well off we were on that ship. Our ship gave us 3 meals a day and there were few restrictions on board. Upon reaching England it was difficult to realise that the front lines are only a matter of minutes away by air. The countryside looks so peaceful with its quaint old houses, etc. Only the cars can detect the fact that a war is on. On the whole, the country here looks very neat. Everything is very old-looking and well-established. The people are pretty shabby clothed, but they all look pretty rugged. They have to be to live in this climate because it sure is cold. As yet, I haven't seen much or had much contact with the British people, but from what I have seen of them, it won't always be easy to understand them. The way they twist phrases around and say things is quite amusing. This business of using British currency is something, but I think we can get used to it. We had a couple of hours in Cambridge the other day, so I got a look at an English city. Everyone is out on the streets on bicycles, bouncing around on the narrow streets. There isn't much of anything to buy around here, so don't expect anything from me for Christmas. Perhaps in time I can get some souvenirs for you. As I said before, the weather here is everything it is cracked up to be. We saw the sun a couple of minutes once the other day. Among the things I could use are a large wallet for this English currency. It is about as wide as the old American money. One of the big problems will be keeping warm here, so I could use a couple of warm pairs of pyjamas with socks to go with them. Everything in the PX is scarce and rationed, so I could use some choc bars or choc candy. Also some 127 film, as I can't get any here. Try writing for some Kodak. All I can tell you is that our base is not very fancy. We might just as well be in the mud of France or the cold of Iceland. There is one very small stove in each barracks, smaller than a kerosene stove, and we can't keep it going all the time. However, we can't kick because things could be worse, so don't worry. I don't expect to be working very hard for a while. By the way, note the new address. 853rd Bomb Squadron, 401st 91st Bomb Group, APO, #558. Love, Jack. P.S. I mailed a letter to you on the 14th, but I guess you didn't get it.
This document comes from the Bolingbroke collection and is from an extract of an 18th century letter written by Dean Swift. Swift talks about the condition of his home and the circumstances he finds himself in while living there.
From Dean Swift to his friend. As you have been pleased very generously to honour me with your friendship, I think myself obliged to throw off all disguises and to discover to you my real circumstances, which I shall do with all the openness and freedom imaginable. You will be surprised at the beginning of my story, and be inclined to think the whole a banter, but you may depend upon it being really true, and if need were, I can bring the parson of the parish to testify the same. You must know, then, that at this time I live in a poor little sorry house of clay that stand upon the waste as other cottages do. And what is worst of all, I am liable to be turned out at a minute's warning, for it is a sort of copyhold tenure, and the custom of the manor is this. For the first 30 years I am to pay no rent, but only to do suit and service and attend upon the courts, which are kept once a week, and sometimes oftener. For 20 years after this I am to pay a rose, and during the remainder of my term I am to pay a tooth every 2 or 3 years, or oftener if demanded, which you will say is a whimsical acknowledgment. And when I have nothing left to pay, out must be the word, and then it will not be long before my person is seized on. I might have had my tenancy, such as it is, upon better terms, if it had not been the fault of my great-grandfather. He and his wife, together with the advice of an ill neighbour, were concerned in robbing an orchard belonging to the lord of the manor, and so forfeited their grand privilege, to my sorrow, I'm sure. But, however, I must do as well as I can, and shall endeavour to keep my house in tolerable good repair. My kitchen, where I keep my victuals, is a comical sort of a room, somewhat in the shape of an oven, but it answers very well the purpose it was designed for. My garrets are rather cocklofts and very indifferently furnished, but they are rooms that few people now regard, unless it is to lay lumber in. However, I make shift to rub on in my little way, and when my rent day comes, I must see and discharge it whenever I can, whenever I am turned out, and I understand my lodge, or whatever you please to call it, depends upon the low-spirited, creeping family, remarkable for nothing but being instrumental in advancing the reputation of the Great Moor Church. Lane, but be that as it will, I have one strong apartment, which lay on the left side of my house, that I reserve for my chief friends. It's very warm, where you will be a welcome guest, and may depend upon a lodging, as long as the edifice is in the tenure and occupation of your humble servant, Swift.
The last document comes from the papers of Betty and Reverend Donald Ray. In this letter, from a bundle spanning 1935 to 1943, Donald is discussing preparations for their forthcoming wedding and plans for setting up their new home together. Other letters in the bundle cover their engagement, Betty's work in Brighton as a nurse during the Second World War, and the Baedeker raids in Norwich.
Dated May the 18th, 1940. Dear Betty, many thanks for your 2 letters, extravagant child. I am so very sorry to hear your news of Mother, and do trust that it'll only be of short duration. I am writing to her so shall not say more in this letter. I send you a list of the wedding gifts I have received so far, with promises of more to come later. Rare coffee service from Mother. I am so glad she's had the great wisdom to give it to me. Frankly, it's very much better. You've had so many things and are so terribly spoilt, but I still fear your hats won't fit you. Incidentally, my humility is making such great strategic strides that all my hats in future will have to be made many sizes smaller. My hatter told me that he is greatly concerned about it and suggests a little more of the Goering spirit to inflate it. Ah well, humility is a great thing, and as I told him, mark you in confidence, my fiancée had such a superabundance of cheek that I was forced to humility to equalise the balance. He said it was very sad to see the ways in which young girls these days got so swelled in the head. I mournfully agreed, and shed in consequence enough tears to have flooded the ark. However, to get to business, why do you want 6 more coffee cups? Are we to have people round in dozens? Because if we do, where are the dear things to sit? And further, where are the cups to be put when not in use? Frankly, I think cutlery is more useful. Rear the chair. I don't think it matters about the colour. Nicer, of course, if it matches, but on second thoughts, I don't think it matters very much. Of course, I shall have to dust the study, and anticipating such a consequence, I've bought a very dinky mob cap and the sweetest little apron you ever saw, pale mauve, with lace insertion to let the dust through. That'll be my first job every morning. I had a letter from the Canon. He regrets he cannot be at the wedding, House of Assembly or something on at that time, so he cannot be present. Wedding to be at 9 a.m. Banns will be or should be out tomorrow. I believe I gave your name as Sofa Banizba, July Anna Eliza. I think that's what you said was the correct title. At any rate, I imagined it was, so perhaps it'll do. Grey curtains for front room. I have 2 sets of net ones, complete. If you don't like them, perhaps you'll wish to get something else. Frankly, I should not, if I were you, get short curtains. I don't think after the first week or 2, people will worry about us in any way. They're very decent down here, and if they want to get a good look in, well, it's only natural. I'll see about the refrigerator and we'll send you measurements. I think it would be a very sound thing to put it in the larder. It would not matter if the shelves had to come out. I finished the front garden, and it's all planted out. It would look very nice. Groups of dandelions with daisies and then chickweed and a lovely border of groundsel. Oh, by the way, 1 potato is through. It blew me a kiss the other morning. Shallots are all standing smartly to attention, and cauliflowers grew an inch after that rain at the beginning of the week. In front, there are asters, sweet williams, dahlias, Canterbury bells, borders of Virginia stock and white and purple clumps, and various other things. Roses now in bud and delphiniums. In the back, delphiniums, oriental poppies, roses, heliums, asters, sweet williams, Canterbury bells, and other flowers, borders of Virginia stock, etc. List of presents. 8-day clock with alarm in brown leather case. Miss Tyndall. 2 blue soup containers with saucers and lids. Mrs. Dunn. Linen, tea cloth hand embroidered, Miss Ozard. Tea cloth hand embroidered coloured linen, Mrs. Slade and Wooster. Butter dish and knife, Miss Chance. Dessert service, Miss Shickles. Cheque £10, Queenie and John. Cheque £3, Miss M. Shaw. Half a dozen hot glasses, hand-cut glass, Miss S. Hull. Promised. Sheets, Mrs. and Miss Hornblower. Table glasses, Miss Ashby. Coffee spoons, silver, Miss Day. Silver egg stand and cups and salad bowl, Mrs. Ray. Barometer, 2nd Bath Boy Scouts. These are what I know of, and Mr. Hornblower, Mrs. Mullet and Miss Harwood have promised gifts. I've just been upstairs and taken an inventory of the silver in his house. An enclosed list of the same. There is also a silver thing to take baby whales out of the sardine tin, a sort of tongs with silver sardines at the end. I don't see any fish servers. This morning Miss Hull took me to Lawley's and bought me what I wanted, 6 of the most lovely cut glass hot glasses, very richly cut and purple colour. They cost 10 and 11 pence each. It's really a magnificent gift, and she says she's grateful for all I have done for her. Now I must stop and get on with my sermon. Very best of love, little snug toes. Yours affectionately, Donald.